Delaware has a beach. You want a reason to ever go to Delaware? There you go. Thomas Jefferson called it the Diamond State solely because of its prime location on the eastern seaboard, because even in the long, long ago, when there was nothing to do but get syphilis and smoke rolled tobacco leaf lasagna, it was a matter of public record that Delaware's prime value was in how quickly it could be fled. If I want fresh seafood, I'd go to Maryland. If I had a marriage I wanted to save with a romantic beach trip, I'd go virtually anywhere else. If I wanted to get caught in traffic on a hot summer weekend just to be disappointed by where I ended up, I'd go to your mom's house. Maybe it's sour Pennsylvania grapes about not getting to be the first state, or not having a beach, or having to pay state sales tax. Maybe it's jealousy from having such a clear proximity to so many different avenues of adventure. Although I really couldn't imagine wanting to visit Baltimore or the DC Beltway on purpose. Even now, I don't go to New York City unless I can write it off as a business expense. And Roman and I aren't so far from Philadelphia and New York City ourselves. Maybe we're just used to a more rural life, and in that sense you would think Delaware would be right up our alley. There's a lot of crossover with PA, from Wawa to the fact that Route 1 southbound sucks as much for them as it does for us. Just like Pennsylvania, you'll meet plenty of people in Delaware expecting you to know some distant relation or acquaintance just because you mention you're from the same state. As if all we do is sit around in one big circle jerking each other off and memorizing each other's faces. And the food isn't all that removed from what we're used to here. Cream chip beef, vinegar on french fries, apple butter on toast, frickin' scrapple. They even have their own Pennsyltucky, in the same way we divide our state by Pittsburgh on the west and Philly on the east and Kentucky in between. The Chesapeake and Delaware canals separate the more urban northern Delaware from the area known as the slower lower, although the separation between the two areas appear to have been getting less distant over time. I guess the point is ultimately that living in Delaware, for a Pennsylvanian, would feel familiar but new. I could live in a place less likely to have a bunch of stickers on gas pumps that report nothing more to me than the low critical thinking skills of the person who placed it there. I could live in a county that doesn't feel like one big sundown town for diversity of thought and body. I could live in a state without sales tax and with a less severe tax ideology in general. For instance, a lot of businesses register in Delaware due to the corporation court system, fast processing for filings, and the fact that the state doesn't impose income taxes on corporations that are registered in the state, but don't do business there. You're also not required to disclose your directors' or officers' names to the state, so certain businesses are able to maintain anonymity. Anonymity. It's to the point where 67.8% of Fortune 500 companies are Delaware entities, with corporate entities actually outnumbering residents. Not that it's that impressive, given that Delaware is one of the 10 least populous states in the Union, with just under 1 million residents as of 2020, which tracks since Delaware gives off the vibe of a couch distribution center that someone decided to turn into a state. Delaware, for the man whose kink is low APR and deferred interest for the first 12 months. While I could see how Delaware could be attractive, I also understand how moving to a new state is a lot different than what it used to be. Over the past 10 years or so, it feels like society has begun to privilege a mindset that's more prepared. Not that people are prepared for big changes, but that they'd like to be. You see it with marriages. You see it with project cars. People plan out how much money they want to have saved away before doing the things they want to do. And it's smart. It makes sense. But it's also a great way to never do it. Because you'll always find reasons why you aren't ready yet. We grew up with plenty of people who just did the things they wanted to do when they were young, and figured out the rest later. Life ended up being hard in the aftermath, but so many of our parents and aunts and uncles seem to respond with a shrug. I mean, we're all going to die anyway, so we might as well do what we can when we have the ability to do it, right? How many times have you had to bomb for roaches in the garage while your RX-7 sits waiting for that K20 engine swap? Sometimes preparedness is the death of adventure, and in that same realm, adventure would mean moving to a place like Delaware and figuring it out along the way. Because there are real, tangible benefits to moving there, you know? But, I mean, are there really? Reading up about Delaware, it looks like it's gradually becoming a second Florida, with the amount of retirees flocking there to take advantage of the low property taxes, with some 20% of Delaware's population being over 65. And it presents an opportunity to real estate investors who could probably flip a house like a hamburger to get that nest egg fatter than Humpty Dumpty. It's one of the only 4 U.S. states with no sales tax, with no tax on Social Security and a retirement income exemption on up to $12,500 of pension income, in addition to no estate or inheritance taxes. But it's a tiny place. There are only 3 counties, the fewest of any in the nation, and Delaware is the second smallest state in the country. It's approximately 95 miles long and between 9 and 35 miles wide. There also isn't a whole lot to do, at least from our experience, which isn't to say there's nothing. You have the Firefly Music Festival each year. Rehoboth Beach is still nicknamed the nation's summer capital. You can check out a race or two at the Dover Downs International Speedway. You can find the nearest local bar on the beach to drink yourself stupid. Just make sure you brought enough Tylenol for the hangover from your local Walgreens. Oh, excuse me. Happy Harry's. But here's the thing. A lot of what's held against Delaware is the stuff that's built into Delaware's DNA. It's a poly relationship. You knew she was poly when you got with her. It's okay to change over time, but you can't start throwing around ultimatums from the jump for something you signed up for.
What's that? Another circular in the mail? It's gotta be your local department store! Your local department store is the cockroach of the retail industry. Founded in Delaware in the late 1800s, we've supplied everything from pre-stained Chesterfield sofas to Cuban collar shirts and wire-rimmed glasses for the man who shouldn't be allowed within 500 feet of himself, much less anybody else. And now, our prices have only gotten better. With no sales tax, our Delaware location is giving you the best value in the history of ever. Acid wash denim jeans, just $4.99. 4 ounces of your mom's favorite perfume, just $64.50. Top loading laundry with pre-soiled clothes, only $225.25. We've got legitimate brands, and we've got them for rock bottom, just canceled for racism prices. Get all the in fashions from Tommy Helpfinger, Kevin Klein, Gucky, Versace, Balance Ija, Doles and Gabba Gabba, and Airwalk. Come visit our food court and enjoy a Boomerino's pizza. 1 large for the cost of a story about the war. And wash it down with a Powerade from our Coca-Cola Freestyle machine that only serves Powerade. We've got all the latest brands. Structo, Revel, the Gonger, Snaplatch, hundreds of famous names. Fumblegarb. We have all your favorite home decor, including handmade artisan crafts, McCrane, Crotchet, Decoupage, Mosaics, Ike Banana, Karamikes. Come to our Delaware location for an experience like a Granny Smith apple, disappointing on its own, but best when baked. Hey, it's legal here recreationally, so how about it? We've got jeans by Gloria Vanderbilt, Swatch, Bongo, LEI, 579, Contempo Casuals, shoes from Borders Bookstore, books from Payless Shoes. We have all your favorite discontinued foods, for f***'s sake, thanks to our purchase of an old storage shed left behind by a f***ing hoarder. We got it at rock bottom, canceled for streaming Hogwarts Legacy's prices, so suck it! Keebler Magic Metals, Kudos Milk Chocolate Granola Bars, Pepsi Holiday Spice, Coke Lime, Kellogg's Cinnamon Mini Bun Cereal, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Pudding Pies, a restraining order against your vengeful ex, Trix Yogurt! Your local department store has all the deals, whether you want them or not, so get your fine ass down here to Delaware. Yes, down, because nobody is coming up here from down south. It's all Pennsylvania drivers who forgot how to parallel park or use turn signals. So f*** up. Come on down to your local department store with locations throughout the state of Delaware. It's never been easier to save money or get tested for venereal disease thanks to our brand new pharmacy, now accepting like 3 insurances. Get your miserable ass down here. Do it. I'm tired of telling you. You already got the kids in the divorce. The least you can do is throw some business my way instead of lining Jeff Bezos' pockets. I worked so hard to get us out of that f***ing apartment, and now it's like, I don't know, just spend money. Buy things. I'm not saying capitalism is perfect, but it's all we've got. Come to Delaware. Come to your department store.
People don't come to Delaware to be neck-deep in civilization, even if it is getting crowded for the amount of landmass it has. Nobody goes to Newark or Wilmington for the bar scene. How could you when last call is 1 a.m.? It's also a case of missing out on the arguable prime of Delaware nightlife, since there's been erosion of local culture like Kahunaville, the iconic 7,000-person venue on the Wilmington riverfront that anchored music and party scenes for 11 years. You could also make the argument that Delaware only sucks because of the people who moved there rather than the natives themselves, like Pennsylvanians and their drivers. Should I talk more about Delaware? About its idiosyncrasies? The things that make it different from the rest of the country? The things that make it distinct? I could keep going. Do I actually care enough to want to? No, I don't. It's Delaware. I've been there enough times to know it isn't for me. And that's okay. Not every state needs to be the best representation of the United States. Hell, our state isn't. Our Commonwealth isn't. Your state probably isn't either, because there can be no ultimate American state. Except maybe Texas. But even then, it's representative for the wrong reason. A cliche of what it means to be American, to live in these states united as part of a larger collective whole, rather than treating yourself as a different country, whose kneecap should be licked by the rest of the 49. But it sure does feel that way. I often say to people who want to generalize Americans from other parts of the globe, hang on, Americans can't even identify themselves, so don't try to do it for us. Delaware isn't the ideal first state, but it is the first state. For better or worse, we wrote the Constitution. Pennsylvania made the paperwork that created... The United States was created in Pennsylvania, and we're still number 2. And, Anyway. And out of every U.S. state, there's one thing we can say for certain. Delaware sure is one of them.